Going on, DJ Nation, back with another video. About to hop into a Best Ball Mania 4 draft. This is going to be my 90th draft of the offseason. Before I decided I was going to start streaming these drafts, I did a lot early. So I think my first stream draft was like in the 70s. I already get about 70 drafts done. So they're going to be spaced out a little more than I would like for the next month or so. But not drafting as much. I feel like I'm not as sharp. I was drafting pretty much every day for a couple months, and I've been taking little breaks here, kind of trying to space out my drafts a little bit. So don't know if I'm as sharp as I was a couple weeks ago, but we'll try and knock the rust off here. And just wanted to say, if you're signing up for Underdog, please use my promo code Larry Bird 617. They'll get you a deposit match up to $100. So you put in 100, they'll give you 100. You'll have 200 in your account. So typical start: Jefferson, Chase, Cup. I'm picking out of the 7 spot. That usually means either Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, maybe AJ Brown. Depends on your preference. Maybe Austin Eckler, possibly Bijan. So Kelce goes there at 4. So he's not going to be an option. I'm probably leaning Diggs if he's there over AJ Brown, but I have been passing on running back in this range a lot. Like I rarely take Eckler. I think I have a decent amount of Eckler. I think I have like 8 or 9% Eckler, so not horrible. But I usually pass on the running back, either Bijan or Eckler in this range. And now with all the running back news with Josh Jacobs and Barkley, I think those guys could slip a little bit here. So I think taking receiver is the right move in this range. I've seen some people prefer AJ Brown over Diggs. Personally, I still have Diggs ahead of Brown, so I will take him here. And I really would love to get a Diggs Devontae Adams team. I've yet to be able to get one of those. So if there was ever a day for Devontae Adams maybe to take a little bit of a slide, I'm hoping it's today, but it's unlikely. I mean, he never usually gets past at that 16th pick. The fact that he's even going in the second round, Devontae Adams, I'm talking about. The fact that he even goes in the second, I think, is crazy. I think he's just tremendous value in the second. I think it's definitely possible that the Raiders could suck, but I think he still gets his numbers even with Jimmy G in there, and I think there's also potential for him to be traded if he's unhappy with the direction of the team and the Raiders want to continue to kind of go into that full rebuild mode. I think the possibility they could deal him. So yeah, I would love to get a Diggs Devontae team at some point this offseason. So after I went Diggs at 7, Eckler goes off the board at 8, Bijan at 9, AJ Brown, CD Lamb, and the team at the turn here is picking. Their first pick was Garrett Wilson. And I think that running back news is important, though. Multiple running backs not signing their extensions. I think that's going to push those guys back down the board. I think as the offseason goes on, people get nervous. I think you're going to see those guys going more towards the late 20s, early 30s, guys like Barkley who have been going, in this 16 to 22 range. I think that they get pushed down the board. Josh Jacobs, maybe he goes a little bit later. So I'm looking to scoop that running back value as they're falling. That's definitely a strategy of mine going forward here for the next month and a half. So Devontae does go there at 16. That's typically his range. JT at 17. So what do we do here? Pollard is another guy as well. Pollard's never really had a starting job, so he kind of has to take what's available to him. I'm just gonna go simple today. I'm just gonna go Josh Allen. I don't have much Josh Allen. I know he's ahead of ADP, but I don't care. I've gotten him to slip, but there's been so many drafts where I've taken digs and he hasn't slipped, and it just gets annoying. I just want to block him in. And I'll just take whatever value falls to me in the next round. There's always seems to be a team that's willing to take Josh Allen unstacked. So I think I've gotten him to slip into the 30s there. Say I picked at 6, 7, or 8 in that range, and I got Diggs. I've gotten him to slip a couple times, but for the most part, he does get taken right at ADP at 27, 28, right in that range. So I don't think he's bad value at 18. I haven't been taking much elite quarterback in these first 3 rounds this offseason. I've passed on Hurts a lot. I've passed on Mahomes, but I'm going to try and start balancing that out a little bit as I go forward. I don't want to be at 3% Mahomes and 5% Allen and 4% Jalen Hurts. I feel like I've passed on them when appropriate, and now they've kind of settled, so I know where they're going. I don't think there's going to be some big ADP dip on them. I've tried to scoop them up as much as I could on the drafts where they slipped. I believe there was one draft where I got Jalen Hurts in the mid 30s as well. So I've gotten some decent shares of them when they've dipped past ADP, but I think things are going to settle with them, and they're going to stay in this range as far as ADP. So I'm going to pick my spots and just take them when it makes sense. So after I went Josh Allen at 18, Chris Olave at 19, Patrick Mahomes 20, Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, Saquon Barkley. We see the dip already happening. He goes at 23 to the Jamar Chase team, picking out of the 2 spot. The team at the turn goes Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson. Really like that combo of players right there to go with Justin Jefferson. I think both of those guys have RB1 upside. Certainly, if the Cowboys don't sign anybody, Pollard could just smash. Like, I could definitely see him being RB1. So, like those selections there. Derrick Henry, 26. So, even though there's been a lot of publicity about the running backs not getting contracts, this still is the range here where a lot of those guys who would be considered RB1s are going. I think Josh Jacobs probably will be there at my next pick if I wanted him, even though his ADP is 28. I think he's a prime candidate to be a faller, but I think if he repeats what he did last year or even comes close to it, which I don't think he will do, but if he does, he's a prime, he's setting himself up for a contract next offseason for sure. I'm going to continue to just push running back. I'm going to go Debo. I like Debo more than I like Calvin Ridley. So I'll grab him there as our wide receiver 2. See what running back value falls to me in the 4th. I know a lot of people probably would have taken Breece Hall there, and I do like Breece Hall, but this to me would probably be a 0 RB team where I scoop up like a James Cook, Damian Harris, just start maybe in the 8th, 9th round grabbing my running backs. Try and get an elite tight end as well. Maybe I can grab Kittle if he slips to me at the 66 overall. Maybe I think that's a little past his ADP, but if I could grab him, grab Debo, grab Purdy later on as my second quarterback on a Josh Allen team, I think that'd be a nice build. So we see the fall there for Jacobs, who has an ADP of 28. He goes at 35. So I might get locked out of one of those elite running backs, it looks like, but I'm okay with that. Brees Hall. After I took Debo Samuel at 31, Brees Hall 32, Najee Harris 33, Calvin Ridley 34, Josh Jacobs 35, and the team at the turn here goes Lamar Jackson with their first pick. And take a look at the running backs. So I'd be happy with Gibbs, ETN. Another guy I'm trying to get more of is Kenneth Walker. I've been fading him so hard, but with an ADP of 52, I do think he is good value. As much as I like Charbonnet a lot, I think he's worthy of a pick in the 50s. So maybe if he's there on my swinging back around my next pick, I might grab him. But most likely looking receiver here again. So the team at the turn, Lamar Jackson, Jerry Jeudy. Then we see Gibbs. He does go. Christian Watson, Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen. So I'm on the board at 42. What makes sense here? ETN makes some sense. I'm going to go best available. I think to me, best available is Drake London. I prefer him over Hopkins. I prefer him over McLaurin. I think DJ Moore, him and DJ Moore are very close. Drake London, DJ Moore. McLaurin is just very solid, and I think he's going to continue to just put up those 1,000-yard seasons with, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, and he's going to be steady. But in best ball, we're really just looking for those crazy spike weeks, and I think Drake London, with his physical profile, his draft capital, I think Desmond Ridder is a little better of a thrower than Marcus Mariota, so I think he could come into his own here in his second season. So trying to give myself the highest upside potential. And I think the same can be said for Debo. He had a very down season, and people are very down on him in general. But I think he returns to form, not 2 years ago form, but I think he puts up another 1,300 yard season, 8 to 10 touchdowns. So I really like my receiving core right now. I prefer a receiver in that range over the ETNs, the Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixons of the world. So this is shaking out to be a 0 RB team. So I went London at 42. DJ Moore goes 43. Terry McLaurin 44. And then we see Hopkins, Burrow, ETN. The team at the turn goes Justin Fields at 48. Just on paper, I really like team one, obviously. Feel like they get an elite one receiver, 2 stud running backs, and an elite quarterback. So see what they do with this next pick here. But like their start so far, they go Ayuk, who was someone I was going to be eyeing there at 55, to pair with Debo and maybe grab a San Francisco stack. But I honestly might consider, and I think I've gotten George Kittle so many times past ADP that it feels a little bit gross to grab him ahead of ADP. But I think he would bring such nice balance to this team. And, Kenneth Walker went right there. He was somebody I wanted to get at 55. So the fact that he's gone, I don't really love any of the running backs in this range. I think it's pretty much a dead zone. Out of these guys right here, I do like Dobbins, probably the best. Aaron Jones is always steady. But the thing is, too, though, I have Drake London. I could just push it and try and grab Kyle Pitts in the next round and build out a Atlanta stack as well. Just grab another receiver here. I'm going to go Aaron Jones. I'm gonna go Aaron Jones here. I think I don't have much of him. I think he's a good value there in the 50s. That could come back to bite me. This could be the season where he, starts to decline, especially with Rodgers not being there. If the offense is clunky at all, or they're not, kind of cooking on all cylinders, he might show some aggression. So I might regret that pick. And especially if Kittle and Pitts, if neither of them make it back to me, I'm gonna definitely be a little upset about it. But I think one of them should. I think one of them should for sure. I mean, Hawkinson is still on the board, so he just goes right there at 58. But this could be the run on tight ends right here. So yeah, and then Kittle goes. I'm just gonna keep my fingers crossed that Pitts makes it back to me. I mean, positionally, like Aaron Jones last year, I think he had 218 points. I think he finished as a low end RB1 still. Maybe depending on the scoring, low end RB1, high end RB2. So it's getting him in the fifth is still pretty good value, but in a vacuum, I think I would prefer Kittle. I've taken Kittle all off season, and my plan was to go zero RB. So I don't know if that was the best strategy there or the best time to take Aaron Jones on this kind of a team, but it's done. What's done is done. Now I just got to keep my fingers crossed here that Pitts will sneak back to me. That way I give myself an out later on. Because on a Josh Allen team, I don't like going with another elite quarterback. I don't like taking my next quarterback until, let's say, round 13, 14, 15. Even fine waiting until the 16th, 17th if there's somebody I think is decent value, underrated in that range. So that would give me an opportunity to build out a more balanced team, maybe grab Desmond Ridder as my second guy and just, hope that Ridder has some upside. But if not, I'm pretty much leaning on Josh Allen all season, and I'm totally fine with that. Hopefully I don't get sniped right here on Kyle Pitts. So I don't. And I mean, there's still some great receivers on the board. This is the thing too. Like in a vacuum, do I like Kyle Pitts over Mike Evans? No, I don't. Absolutely not. But I'll go Pitts here. I think he'll give my team a little more balance than grabbing the fourth receiver. I think it's a well balanced team so far. I don't like being shut out at elite tight end. I really don't. So Kittle would have made a lot of sense, and I prefer Purdy over Ridder, obviously. That kind of goes without saying. I mean, Ridder has a ton of weapons, so I think it's really yet to be determined what kind of a quarterback he'll be in year two. But from what we've seen out of the offenses, Shanahan lets Purdy sling it a little bit, and he got really hot in the second half of last season. But Atlanta, Arthur Smith, we know he just loves to run the ball, and he'll run the ball as much as possible if it's working. So might have made more sense to go Kittle there at 55. Just scooped up one of the receivers at 66 there, got Purdy later, and then just stuck to my plan of going zero RB. In saying that, though, I do get stuck into certain draft patterns, and I'm taking the same guys over and over. So taking Aaron Jones there was a way for me to diversify and get different, because I do get stuck taking Mike Evans and George Kittle pretty much every time in this range. So as much as I love those guys and think they're great values, if one of them goes down and gets injured, if I'm gonna have my portfolio is not going to be that diverse. So I think I may have 1 or 2% Aaron Jones, so maybe a good spot there to just get different. I think Mike Evans is still on the board here, if I'm not mistaken. If he is, I mean, if he made it to me at 79, my goodness. Deshaun Watson goes. So 3 picks away. I don't think he survives it, but I like all 4 of those receivers at the top of the board right there, as well as DeAndre Swift. Mike Evans, Jordan Addison, Treylon Burks, George Pickens, plus DeAndre Swift. So I'm happy with any of those 5 guys, which feels great. When you're picking in a range like that where there's guys at the top of the board that you really like, and you're only, say there's 5 guys and you're 3 picks away, you guaranteed you're going to get one of these guys. If Mike Evans fell to me here, then I just hit it out of the park. And George Pickens, not George Pickens, and Kyle Pitts was the correct pick there at 66. Oh, wow. So Pickens goes. This team is going to be just shocked right here that Mike Evans is still on the board somehow. They've already got 4 receivers. They don't have a quarterback. But do they just continue to scoop up wide receiver value? I would if I was them. And they go Swift. Wow. I've never seen Mike Evans fall this far. Wow. As my wide receiver 4. Look at this receiving core right here. Diggs, Debo, Drake London, Mike Evans, with Kyle Pitts, Aaron Jones, and Josh Allen. Wow. This team is loaded. That's crazy. I don't know. Did something happen with Mike Evans that I'm missing? I don't know. Let me just take a quick look. Google Mike Evans. Nope. The only news I see is that he was disrespected with his Madden rating. They didn't put him in the top 10 receivers, so I mean, he's a 90 overall in Madden. So not too crazy, but yeah, I love Mike Evans for this season. Absolutely love Mike Evans. Brady leaving is one of the best things that could happen for his ADP value, not his fantasy value. Obviously, he would have a better chance to succeed with Brady in there. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is with the game he had to end the season, that what was it, 200 yards and 4 touchdowns or whatever he had. He went crazy. With that game and then Brady returning, I think he's again like a 3rd or 4th round pick. But with Brady leaving, it's pushed down to the 6th, and now he's slipping into the 7th, like 79 overall. That's just absolutely crazy value. And this is one of my favorite teams so far that I've drafted. It really shows you the benefit of going like anchor RB or hyper fragile 0 RB. It's definitely a viable strategy. Wow, and another falling value here with Treylon Burks with an ADP of 73. Yeah, I'm taking him. I don't even care what running backs are there. I'll grab Damian Harris afterwards. I'll grab Damian Harris later on, I should say. I wanted James Cook there to tie in with the Buffalo stack, but fine getting Harris later if James Cook gets taken. Treylon Burks, 20 picks after ADP. This is the best receiving core I've seen on an underdog team. By none. Diggs, Debo, Drake London, Mike Evans, Treylon Burks. Mike Evans, 12 picks past ADP, almost 12 picks. 11 picks past ADP, and then Treylon Burks, 16 picks past ADP as my wide receiver 5. I don't care if Hopkins went there. I think he still feasts. I think Hopkins going there helps him, honestly, because there was nobody else to take any coverage attention away from him. He would have been just getting double teamed like crazy. So Hopkins going there doesn't bother me one bit. I didn't expect Treylon Burks to be a real red zone monster anyways. I'm expecting him to be more of a 100-catch guy, 90 catches, 1,200 yards. And if he gets 5 or 6 touchdowns, great. But that's tremendous value there. I'm going to just start now that the team's pretty built out. I'm gonna just start throwing some Buffalo guys in the queue, some New England guys in the queue. They play week 17, so set myself up to grab some of that week 17 stack. Let me go back to the board here in the meantime. Sorry. Whew. This is a good one. So Mike Evans, 79 overall. After Mike Evans, Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, Isaiah Pacheco, Brandon Cooks. The team at the turn goes Rashad Bateman, 84, Zay Flowers, 85, and I believe they have Lamar. Yes, they do. So they're building out that Raven stack. James Conner, Dalvin Cook, Tua, Javonte Williams at 89. So I went Treylon Burks at 90. Darren Waller, 91, Elijah Moore, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Evan Ingram. Team at the turn out of the one spot goes Jamison Williams, AJ Dillon, 96 and 97. Cortland Sutton, David Njoku, Anthony Richardson, Antonio Gibson. I'm on deck. I would have loved Kamara there too, actually, to be honest. If Treylon hadn't slipped that far, it was gonna be between James Cook and Kamara. And James Cook's still on the board. I finally get sniped on somebody I like, but James Cook goes there. Would have liked him right there, but wow, I can't complain. Honestly, the way this draft is going, this has been phenomenal. I'll go Charbonnet here as my RB2. I think he's absolutely love Charbonnet. He's one of my top 5 most owned players. I'll see if Harris will come back to me. I'm not worried about getting Kincaid because I actually am fine taking Dawson Knox as my second tight end much later. So see if either Juju or Damian Harris, whichever one is there, I'll take. Probably I should lean running back. I honestly, if Harris isn't there, I should probably just skip over Juju and try and grab another running back, whatever the best value is on the board at running back. Because that's the only spot right now where I'm thin. And the way the draft fell after that makes me feel great about grabbing Aaron Jones as opposed to Kittle because I was still able to get Pitts. I still feel like I'm in that, elite tight end conversation at least. I know Pitts had a down year last year, but let's, say he repeats what he did as a rookie. He is in that elite tight end category. And running backs have been flying and receivers have been just getting pushed way down the board past ADP. So feel good about the Aaron Jones selection. I love the way this team has turned out so far. So I went Charbonnet 103 and 104 Tyler Boyd, 105 Kirk Cousins, 106 Sky Moore, 107 Geno Smith. And the team at the turn here is picking 108, 109. Their first pick, they go Freiermuth, Rashad Penny. So 4 picks away. I'd be really happy if Damian Harris made it back to me. He's pretty low on the board too in terms of total ADP. He's the 7th guy on the board. And you can see these teams picking in front of me here. This team has 3 running backs, and then the next 2 teams after that have 4 running backs. So, where I'm picking a guy like Damian Harris, they're picking a guy like Romeo Dobbs. And that's the benefit of going 0 RB or anchor running back. My receivers are just absolutely stacked. This is probably the best receiver core I've seen for an underdog team, honestly. Not to toot my own horn, I have never seen a receiver room this stacked in any of the drafts that I've been in. So it was a perfect time to go 0 RB. I don't know if you want to call Aaron Jones an anchor. I took him in the 5th. I guess you could call him an anchor RB, but the strategy paid off in this particular draft room. So Harris does make it, and Juju went anyway, so makes the decision that much easier for me. Not the prettiest running back room, but not bad either. I think Charbonnet is way undervalued. Who was just a stud in college, and it shows with the draft capital they gave him. Aaron Jones, as I said, has been an RB1, RB2 for the last several years. And 2 years ago on New England, Harris put up 15 touchdowns. So I think he'll have some good opportunities in the Buffalo offense. Yeah, the rest of this draft is really about just picking my spots, finding a couple more running backs that I think are good values with upside. Grabbing probably Dawson Knox as my second tight end, and then just mixing in some Patriots, Tyquan Thornton, Gesicki, Hunter Henry. They're all available late. So on a 2 QB team, I'm probably going to draft 3 tight ends. I'm thinking, and I could also pivot and go with the. I could also pivot and go Ritter and Mac Jones, and just kind of hope, one of them. Hopefully they alternate, and the week that Josh Allen's on bye, maybe one of them gives me a nice spike week if I have both of them in there. And you never know, injuries happen too. So maybe Josh Allen goes down for a period of time, and I'm not just relying on one of the two. I have Ritter and Mac Jones, and on the weeks that one doesn't play well, maybe the other does. So opening myself up to some different opportunities as far as that goes. I think with the way the numbers are, I think 3 tight end has a more successful advance rate as opposed to 3 quarterback. I know 2 QB, 3 tight end. That's the team that I built that made it to the BestBall Mania 3 finals. So I'll probably lean that way. I'll probably either go Mac or Ritter, depending on how the rest of the draft shakes out. That is the benefit too of going with an elite quarterback early, is that you can push it off pretty much as late as possible with getting your second quarterback. That gives you room to build out the rest of your roster in between in spots where you're normally looking quarterback. You're not even looking at the quarterback position. You're scouring the running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends to see what sticks out to you, knowing that you can go, quarterback round 16, round 17, round 18. So I went Harris, Damian Harris, 114. Daniel Jones goes 115. Brian Robinson, Jerick McKinnon, Khalil Herbert, Zay Jones. Team at the turn goes Dak Prescott, Greg Dulcich. Chigo Kongwu goes 122 to the team out of the 2 spot. Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney, Odell Beckham. I'm on deck. They go Devin Achane, someone I was definitely considering as an upside guy. Pretty gross range there for running backs, but it's a gross range for a receiver too. So I'll go Elijah Mitchell, and that actually opens me up to another quarterback possibility. I have Elijah Mitchell. I have Debo. I could still grab Brock Purdy if I wanted to. So just leaving me a few different outs. Kincaid has really taken a dip in ADP. Wow. I remember about 3 weeks ago, he was still in that 110 range as far as ADP. So he's taken a significant dip. I just needed a running back way more there than I needed a second tight end. So fine letting Kincaid fall. See what makes sense here on my next wrap back around. I mean, if he's still there on my next wrap around, I'll take him. But if not, I'm looking at like a Tank Bigsby, Roshan Johnson. I want a running back with upside. Kendre Miller. Don't love Jalen Warren. I think Jalen Warren's getting more steam than he probably should, but he goes there anyways. So yeah, where's Taekwon? I'll put Taekwon in the queue. Surprised he hasn't gotten more steam, but I'm sure he will now that Hopkins signed with the Titans. I'm sure Taekwon will rise back. He rose up the boards for a little bit and then fell back into that 170 range. So I could see him getting some more steam. Devontae Parker as well. He's solidified into that X role now. So his ADP was in the 200s, the high, 208, 209, something like that before. So he's jumped up in ADP around at least. I think that Hopkins signing also solidifies Kendrick Bourne, at least to make the roster as far as depth. So he's a possibility for me. Shakir, obviously. Henry. And this is how I like to use my queue, just so I don't forget anybody. I can see him there over to the right, just so I don't like. So Kincaid does make it there, a little past ADP. Honestly, I prefer one of the running backs here. I really would. I think I should. But he did get the first round draft capital. I think he could be a nice weapon for them. So I'll go Kincaid here. Scoop whatever running back value is there on the way back. And none of them might make it back to me, honestly. They're all right at the top of the board. So I still have some guys I do like though, down a little bit lower. But that's how I like to use my queue. I don't even specifically have to arrange it in terms of ADP if I don't want to. I just don't want to forget and overlook somebody. So I throw them there. I take a quick look at it before I'm making my next pick. And it allows me to see if make sure there's a list there that I can look at and make sure that guys haven't been taken or I haven't overlooked somebody. I don't use my queue as like I'm, put somebody at the top and let the clock run out. That's never how I really use my queue. I'll throw Mac in there as well. Purdy. And Ritter. There's also some Falcons later on that are sleepers that I like. For sure, Cordell Patterson as a last round pick. I think he's a sleeper as a last round pick. And Mac Hollins also. If you're looking as just looking at a last round flyer, I think he's a pretty good flyer to take. So I went Dalton Kincaid 138, Derek Carr goes 139, then Kendre Miller, Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, Jonathan Mingo. Team at the turn goes Cole Kmet, Roshan Johnson. They have Justin Fields as well, so nice couple picks for them. I like the team out of the one spot for sure. And I was looking at Roshan with my next wrap around here. So I think all three of those rookie running backs are gone. Nope, Tank Bigsby's still there. If he's there, I'll definitely would love to grab him. Pretty much every draft that I'm in, I'm always thinking like, oh, I'll grab a late quarterback, like especially if I grab an elite QB. But then I always just see Kyler Murray's name there, and it always just like surprises me that he's in this range as far as ADP. He was even lower like a couple weeks ago, but just being in this 152 overall, it's just such a no brainer. QB 21. I almost don't care that he could potentially miss a couple of games. It's already baked in. I'm not going to take him here. I have a lot of him already, but I just still, to me, it's just crazy that he's sticking around in this range. I have so much Singletary, and I don't plan on stopping. I really don't. Will Damian Pierce be the RB1 on that team? Yeah, I think so. But we saw how he was treated in college as a part-time back, proved everybody wrong last year coming in, but he was like the whole offense, and he wore down towards the end of the season. He got banged up. I think Singletary comes in and takes some of the passing game work, and I think the offense is improved, and I think Singletary has been a guy who has been proven over the years to just be a steady contributor. He's a reliable guy, and I think as the season progresses, it's much more of a 50-50 split than it is Pierce, 80-20, something like that. So that's why I like Singletary. So I think I'm looking at Tyquan, my next pick. If I got the word that Brock Purdy was fully healthy, oh, you see Dawson Knox go there too. So I'm actually kind of glad I got Kincaid. So I think I have enough of the Buffalo offense. I don't really need to grab Shakir. I don't mind taking him, but my receivers are so stacked already. I'm not going crazy trying to grab receivers, but I think Tyquan makes sense here. If Purdy had the clean bill of health right now, I would probably grab him here right around ADP, but I think there's still a little bit of uncertainty, even though they say he's going to be on track for week 1. So I'll grab Tyquan. I think this might be a 6 wide receiver team, honestly. I'm fine if Bourne or Parker is there in the last round, and it just makes sense for the build. But if I have to stick at 6 tight ends, this is the team to do it. Receiving core is absolutely ridiculous. You see Murray go there 164. Trying to see, does that team have any Cardinals? Or are they just taking him unstacked? Yeah, they're pretty much taking him unstacked, but I mean, as your QB2, they already have Mahomes. If Kyler Murray's on the field week 1 and you're getting him in the 14th round, it's one of the biggest steals in the draft. It's to me is going to make or break teams. They're going to look back and say, I can't believe people were getting Kyler Murray in the 14th round. I think he got so sick of Cliff Kingsbury, and Murray did get a lot of negative press about the video game stuff and how serious does he take football and things like that. And those are probably warranted. But at first, I did think he was just being a pain in the ass, if I'm being completely honest. He comes off as one of those guys. He's always been an elite athlete his whole life. It's always come easy to him. So I was thinking, like, is he one of those guys? Like, I don't need to practice. It just comes easy to me. I'm a born athlete, so I could just pick it up. And I think that was part of it. But I think also part of it was Cliff Kingsbury never really struck me as an NFL coach. Never really struck me as a leader. I think he's a decent offensive mind, but he never struck me as a leader. And I think a lot of people started to tune him out. And I think Murray was the leader of that list. So having a new voice come in a defensive-minded coach who could probably leave more of the responsibility to Murray and not have somebody breathing over his shoulder, like looking over his shoulder, breathing down his neck all the time, trying to micromanage. I think that's what Cliff Kingsbury did a lot of the times, was he would micromanage Kyler Murray. I think it will be a breath of fresh air for Murray if he can get on the field week 1, or let's say the first month of the season. Let's say week 3 or 4, he's on the field. I think he has a really nice season, and the ADP value is crazy in my opinion. So as the off season here, the draft season finishes out these last 5 weeks or so, I'm going to be just hammering Kyle Murray. Let me see what makes sense here. I'll go Tajay Spears just to take a shot. Rookie, maybe he has some upside. I was leaning Shakir, but honestly, I'm fine taking any of those guys. I'd probably prefer to grab a couple more New England guys if I am going to grab another receiver, just to grab Bourne or Parker. And I could grab either Gesicki or Henry. I'm fine with either of them. And Mac, I probably could get. Let's see how it lines up for me ADP. So it is risky to wait for him to the last round, because there is a team that will be picking ahead of me that does have Ramondre. See what they have for quarterbacks. Oh, it's the team out of the 1 spot. So they got Fields and Purdy. So maybe not. Maybe Mac's not on their radar, but also the team did take Juju. Let's see. Okay, so they could take him maybe here on the wrap back around, but if they don't, I think Mac is fairly safe. Probably grab him at 199 there. I think his ADP is 204. So yeah, I'll probably do that. So whatever's best available out of this group right here in my queue, I will grab and kind of just go from there. Running back does get gross, but Pierre Strong is definitely a target. I think this is a perfect 7 running back team, since I'm only going to probably go 2 QBs. Take a look at the board quick here before my next pick. I went Tajay Spears 175, Tyquan Thornton 162, and then the wrap back around Tajay Spears 175, 176 Curtis Samuel, then Jawan Johnson, Jeff Wilson, John Mechie. Team at the turn out of the 12 spot goes Isaiah Hodgins, Chuba Hubbard. Then we see Renfro 182, Jerome Ford, Jalen Hyatt. I'm on deck. Yeah, 186. I wonder what I should do here. I'll go Shakir. I just don't think there's much of a gap between Mike Gesicki and Hunter Henry. So if I want to grab the third tight end, I'd actually prefer Henry over Gesicki, honestly. I think Gesicki could be more of a high catch guy, but I think Henry gets the touchdowns, and that's really where the value comes into play. So let me just take Gesicki out of the queue. Someone else can grab him. So I got two more picks here. One of them needs to be a quarterback. So if I miss out on Mac Jones, I could still grab Ritter. Not my favorite. Would make more sense with the week 17 Bills Patriots to grab Mac. But the build outs that I've done with Buffalo, I almost always have Mac. So maybe it would help me get a little different by just grabbing Ritter. I think grabbing Mac and then trying to get Pierre Strong on the way back would make the most sense, honestly. Like I'd actually be okay sticking with two tight ends with Pitts and Kincaid. And Pierre Strong would give me a nice contingency plan if anything happened to Ramondre. I think no matter what, he has a role, but if Ramondre were to go down, Pierre Strong could be a RB2, maybe a low end RB1 if it was a significant injury to Ramondre. Knock on wood. I think it's a no-brainer here to just grab quarterback at this next pick, just so I don't get boxed out. And then I could just scoop whatever values there. If Pierre Strong maybe goes before my next pick, I grab Hunter Henry and just go with the three tight ends. I've got 6 running backs. So not my favorite running back core, but I actually think you go back to it. I mean, if you look at that on paper, it's not the sexiest group of guys, but it's also not gross either. Like Aaron Jones, RB1 potential. Charbonnet, second round draft capital. We've seen Harris flash. We've seen Elijah Mitchell flash given opportunity. So Singletary, even last year, I think was like a low end RB2, high end RB3. So obviously not the strong point of my team, but I don't think it kills me either. Trying to think would Ritter maybe just make more sense because he does have rushing upside. But I mean, even the games he got in last year, he only had 64 rushing yards. So Mac makes more sense. Looks like this team is probably auto picking, so I'll see what they do. Sterling Shepard. They must have Daniel Jones. Gesicki still on the board, huh? Wow. So I'll go Mac. Got my 2 quarterbacks. They get different bye weeks, which is nice. And now we'll just see what makes sense on the wrap back around. I'm pretty sure it's either going to be Strong or Henry, just based on how strong my receiving core is. I don't need any more receivers. I probably didn't even need Khalil Shakir, honestly. Like, could be a nice breakout candidate, but I probably didn't even need him. I probably should have left it at 6. The thing about 6, though, is if you have one injury, you are pretty thin if you're at 6 receivers. So I'm okay taking Shakir. I don't know if I necessarily needed him, but it's pretty much either going to be the 7th running back or the 3rd tight end. Let's see how the last round plus shakes out here. Cordarrelle goes there, 203. Seen him getting drafted more and more often. One of my thoughts right now, I think the points I made about Pierre Strong are valid. He was the fastest running back at the combine. The time he got in last year, which was short, I think he only had 10 or 11 carries on the season, but he did look good. He did look explosive. Usually in a Belichick offense, if you're a rookie, you don't really get an opportunity, but in your second year, you tend to break out a little bit. It's what we saw with Stevenson. So, you start to earn more trust of the coaching staff in year two. So I think he could have a role. But who scores more points on the season? This is the thing. I think I know what Hunter Henry is, and the unknown of Pierre Strong is very intriguing, especially on a team where my running backs are thin. I'm okay with my tight ends, although Kincaid is an unknown. So if I'm relying every week on Kyle Pitts, he has a down week. Well, maybe there's a week where Hunter Henry has 2 touchdowns, and that kind of helps my tight end group. It gives me more balance there at tight end. Like it supplements Kyle Pitts, and it helps provide some insurance on the weeks where he's really not going off. So I don't know. It's gonna be a tough decision right here. If Ramondre plays all 17 weeks, I think Pierre Strong is nothing more than like you're hoping for a touchdown type of guy, 40 yards and a touchdown, something like that. So I was hoping one of them gets taken so I don't have to make the decision, but they don't. They're both still there. I mean, Pitts and Henry do have the same bye week too, so pretty much no matter what, I'm going to be relying on Dalton Kincaid for a week there. I'm going to go Pierre Strong. I think I did enough there at tight end. Receivers are obviously, this is the best receiving core I've seen on Underdog. I'll say it again for the 5th time. I don't give a shit. That's Diggs, Debo, London, Evans, Treylon Burks. That 5 is crazy, in my opinion. So look at these last few picks here. I mean, it seems like when I don't take Hunter Henry, he never gets drafted. So I don't know what that says about him as a player. The Gesicki addition doesn't scare me. I think Hunter Henry bounces back in a nice way. I think he has a nice rapport with Mac. This is gonna be their 3rd season together. So I'll take him all day in the 8th round. He's one of my highest owned players, but just for this build and how kind of thin my running back core is, I think Pierre Strong makes a little more sense. But one more quick breakdown of the team. So it's going to be a 2-7-7-2. Quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Mac Jones. Running backs, Aaron Jones, Zach Charbonnet, Damian Harris, Elijah Mitchell, Devin Singletary, Tajay Spears, Pierre Strong. Obviously, a couple of dart throws there with rookie and a 2nd-year player at the end. Receivers, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, Drake London, Mike Evans, Treylon Burks, Tyquan Thornton, Khalil Shakir. And a tight end, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid. So get a nice mix of a couple Patriots to go with the Buffalo week 17 stack. Get 4 Bills, 5 Bills, Kincaid, Shakir, Debo, Damian Harris, and Josh Allen. So nice week 17 correlation built in. Pretty balanced team, I would say, for a team where I didn't take my first running back until the 5th. I really loved the structure and the way it turned out. So that's going to do it for today's video. Appreciate you guys watching. If you liked the video, just drop me a like, leave me a comment. And if you guys are enjoying the channel, subscribe. Yeah, every subscription means a lot to me. So if you guys have any feedback, always feel free to let me know. So I'll talk to you guys soon. DGen Nation out.